Linda McMahon, a name synonymous with power, ambition, and unrelenting determination. From the outside, she appears as a visionary businesswoman, a leader who helped shape the world of professional wrestling into a global empire. But behind the boardroom decisions and the carefully curated public image lies a story few truly understand. Born into a world far removed from the glitz and glamour of WWE, Linda's journey was anything but easy. She was not merely the wife of Vince McMahon or the co-founder of WWE. She was a fighter in her own right, navigating the brutal terrain of corporate politics, personal betrayals, and the darker aspects of the industry she helped build. But with power comes controversy, and with success, shadows lurk beneath the surface. What did Linda McMahon have to sacrifice to reach the top? What secrets lie buried in the foundation of her empire? As we pull back the curtain, we uncover the story of a woman who fought harder than anyone imagined, but not without consequence. This is the untold story of Linda McMahon, a journey of ambition, struggle, and the dark side of power. Long before Linda McMahon became one of the most powerful figures in professional wrestling and politics, she was Linda Marie Edwards, a young girl growing up in a modest household in New Bern, North Carolina. Born on October 4th, 1948, Linda's early years were far from the world of corporate boardrooms and billion-dollar deals. Her childhood was shaped by discipline, hard work, and a quiet ambition that would later define her career. Raised in a family that valued education and perseverance, Linda was an intelligent and driven student. But behind the surface of a typical Southern upbringing, she harbored dreams that went beyond the ordinary. At the age of 13, Linda met Vince McMahon, an encounter that would change the course of her life forever. He was charismatic, determined, and carried an aura of defiance against the world. The two quickly became inseparable, bonding over their shared hunger for something greater than the life they had. But their journey was not without its struggles. Financial hardship was a constant shadow in their early years. When they married in 1966, Linda and Vince found themselves navigating the harsh realities of survival. Linda had to make sacrifices, balancing college, supporting Vince's growing ambitions, and raising a family, all while struggling to make ends meet. During this period, Linda learned the art of resilience. Every setback, every financial strain, every moment of uncertainty forged her into the relentless businesswoman she would later become. There was no roadmap, no guarantee of success, only an unwavering belief that they were destined for something bigger. As she pursued her degree in French at East Carolina University, Linda was already proving herself as more than just a supportive wife. She had a sharp mind for business, a skill that would later become indispensable when Vince set his sights on revolutionizing the wrestling industry. But ambition comes with a cost, and as Linda and Vince took their first steps toward building an empire, they had no idea how much they would have to fight, not just for success, but for survival. The journey from a struggling young couple to industry leaders was anything but smooth. For Linda McMahon, transformation did not happen overnight. It was forged through relentless perseverance, calculated decisions, and an unwavering ability to adapt to an ever-changing world. As Vince McMahon pursued his vision of expanding professional wrestling into a global spectacle, Linda became the silent force that held everything together. While her husband was the face of the business, Linda worked behind the scenes, mastering the intricacies of finance, contract negotiations, and corporate expansion. She was not just supporting Vince, she was building WWE alongside him. The transition from a young woman balancing family life and education to a fierce corporate strategist was not easy. The financial hardships of their early years only made Linda more disciplined. She quickly realized that in the ruthless world of business, Emotional decisions had no place. Every move had to be calculated. Every investment, every risk, every choice needed to serve the bigger picture. One of the most defining aspects of Linda's transformation was her ability to handle crisis after crisis. In the 1980s, as WWE, then WWF, began its meteoric rise, the company faced multiple legal battles, financial uncertainties, and the ever-looming threat of competition. Linda took charge, helping navigate the company through some of its darkest times. Her ability to remain calm under pressure became her trademark, while Vince made bold, often controversial decisions. Linda played the role of the strategist, the one who ensured that no matter how risky the moves were, there was always a way to recover. But the business world was not the only battlefield Linda had to conquer. The personal sacrifices were immense. Long hours, high-stakes decisions, and the pressures of maintaining WWE's dominance came at the cost of time with her children, personal health, and even moments of self-doubt. The world saw Linda as a composed, calculating executive, but behind closed doors, she wrestled with the demands of being both a mother and a business leader. This phase of her life was about survival and adaptation. She was no longer just a wife or a business partner. She had become one of the most powerful women in the industry. But with power comes consequence. And Linda was only beginning to realize the cost of the empire she was helping to build. The transformation was complete, but the true test of her resilience was yet to come. By the late 1980s and early 1990s, WWE had transformed from a regional wrestling promotion into a global empire. At the forefront of this expansion was Vince McMahon, the visionary who redefined the industry. But behind every successful decision, behind every high-stakes negotiation, stood Linda McMahon, the woman who helped turn a bold dream into a billion-dollar reality. Linda's role was far more critical than most realized. As the CEO of WWE, she managed the financial and legal aspects of the business, ensuring that the company remained stable even during its most turbulent years. She was instrumental in securing television deals, negotiating sponsorships, and structuring WWE's business model in a way that would sustain long-term growth. Her rise to prominence within the company was not just about business acumen. It was about proving that she could hold her ground in an industry dominated by men. Professional wrestling was a world of aggression, ego, and constant power struggles. And yet, Linda navigated it with precision. She was not a loud, charismatic figure like Vince, but she was just as influential. Her decisions shaped WWE's future in ways few could see at the time. One of her most significant contributions came in the late 1990s when WWE was locked in a brutal ratings war with WCW, known as the Monday Night Wars. This period was a defining moment in the history of professional wrestling. WWE was on the verge of financial collapse, and the competition was stronger than ever. Linda played a crucial role in restructuring WWE's business operations, cutting unnecessary costs, and helping steer the company toward a more aggressive content strategy, one that would eventually lead to WWE's dominance over its rivals. As WWE rose to mainstream fame, so did Linda. She became a public figure in her own right, stepping out of the shadows of corporate meetings and into the limelight. Her involvement in WWE's expansion into global markets, digital media, and entertainment ventures solidified her reputation as a formidable business leader. But with fame came scrutiny. The bigger WWE became, the more controversy followed. Allegations of steroid use among wrestlers, financial disputes, and legal battles all became part of the company's public narrative. And as the business faced these challenges, Linda was often the one handling the fallout. Her rise to fame was not just about success. It was about survival in an unforgiving industry. Every decision she made carried weight. Every move had consequences. She was now more than just a business executive. She was a key figure in one of the most influential entertainment companies in the world. But the higher she climbed, the darker the shadows became beneath the success. There were secrets, controversies, and personal struggles that would soon come to the surface. Success in the world of professional wrestling didn't come without its price. For Linda McMahon, the road to power and wealth was paved with battles, both in the boardroom and behind closed doors. As WWE cemented itself as the undisputed leader in sports entertainment, the controversies surrounding the company and its leadership became impossible to ignore. One of the earliest and most damning scandals to shake WWE was the steroid trials of the early 1990s. The U.S. government launched an aggressive investigation into WWE, accusing the company of facilitating steroid distribution among its wrestlers. While Vince McMahon was the primary target of the case, Linda was deeply involved in the company's legal defense, strategizing behind the scenes to ensure WWE's survival. The trial nearly destroyed the empire they had built. A guilty verdict could have resulted in Vince going to prison, leaving Linda to manage the fallout alone. The case ended in an acquittal, but the damage was done. WWE's reputation took a hit, and Linda was forced to navigate the business through a period of intense public scrutiny. This was a turning point, not just for the company, but for Linda herself. She had fought through corporate battles before, but now she was entangled in legal and ethical dilemmas that threatened everything she had worked for. As WWE expanded, new challenges emerged. The Attitude Era of the late 1990s and early 2000s brought unprecedented success, but it also pushed the boundaries of what was acceptable on television. WWE's programming became more controversial, featuring extreme violence, risque storylines, and real-life conflicts spilling into the ring. Critics accused the company of exploiting its performers, particularly its female talent. While Vince was the face of these decisions, Linda, as CEO, bore responsibility for the company's direction. The issues didn't stop there. Wrestlers suffered from grueling schedules, injuries, and the pressures of maintaining their larger-than-life personas. Behind the bright lights, many fell into substance abuse, depression, and even early deaths. The deaths of beloved superstars like Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit rocked the industry, sparking debates about WWE's treatment of its talent. The Benoit tragedy, in particular, was a defining moment when the former world champion took his own life after committing an unthinkable crime. The world turned its eyes to WWE. Questions about concussions, mental health, and the company's responsibility loomed over Linda and Vince like never before. Despite her composed public image, Linda was facing battles on multiple fronts. She had always been known as a rational, business-minded force behind WWE, but the weight of these controversies was inescapable. The scrutiny intensified when Linda transitioned from the wrestling world to politics, launching a bid for the U.S. Senate. Her past with WWE was now a weapon used against her. Critics dissected every scandal, every decision, every moment where WWE blurred the lines between entertainment and exploitation. The dark side of WWE was now the dark side of Linda McMahon. And while she had fought through decades of challenges, the question remained, could she escape the shadows of her own creation? For Linda McMahon, every crisis was an opportunity for reinvention. Throughout her career, she had been the stabilizing force behind WWE, guiding it through lawsuits, financial turmoil, and public scrutiny. But as the controversies piled up, a critical shift occurred, one that would redefine her legacy and distance her from the very empire she helped build. One of the first major turning points came in 2009 when Linda made a bold decision. She stepped down as WWE CEO, After more than 2 decades of leading the company's financial and legal operations, she left the business to pursue an entirely new path: politics. It was a move that shocked many. But for Linda, it was a calculated step toward something bigger. Her Senate campaign in Connecticut was framed around the idea of a successful businesswoman bringing real-world experience to government. She championed job creation, economic growth, and fiscal responsibility. However, her WWE past was impossible to ignore. Opponents dug into her history, highlighting the darker aspects of WWE: steroid scandals, mistreatment of wrestlers, and the controversial content that had defined the Attitude Era. Linda was forced to answer for WWE's legacy, even as she tried to separate herself from it. Her first Senate bid in 2010 ended in defeat, but it didn't deter her. 2 years later, she ran again, spending millions of her own fortune on the campaign. Once again, she lost. The political world was unforgiving, and no amount of financial backing could erase the years of controversy tied to her name. Yet, Linda was not one to retreat in the face of failure. In 2017, after years of navigating political circles, she secured a major role in the Trump administration as the head of the Small Business Administration (SBA). It was a surprising redemption arc. After failing to win a Senate seat, she now held a government position with real influence. At the SBA, Linda focused on small business growth, advocating for entrepreneurs and startups. Unlike her tenure at WWE, where she operated behind the scenes, she was now a public figure in a new arena. Her ability to navigate the political landscape, despite her wrestling background being used against her, was a testament to her resilience. But did this shift truly redeem her? Her political success was met with skepticism. Critics argued that her appointment was more about loyalty than qualifications. Given her close ties to the Trump family, others questioned whether she had genuinely distanced herself from WWE's controversial past, or if she was simply reshaping her public image. Regardless of the debates, Linda McMahon had successfully transitioned from the wrestling ring to the world of politics and business leadership. The same drive that had once propelled her to the top of WWE was now fueling her influence in government. Her journey was far from conventional. She had faced scandals, defeats, and relentless criticism, but she had also demonstrated an uncanny ability to reinvent herself, proving that even the darkest chapters of a career could be reshaped into a new narrative. But while she moved forward, the question remained: could she ever truly escape the empire she built? Linda McMahon's rise in both business and politics was undeniably impressive, but it came with a legacy tainted by controversy. For decades, she operated in the shadows of one of the most polarizing industries in entertainment, professional wrestling. And no matter how far she tried to distance herself, the WWE controversies followed her at every turn. Her public image was complex. On one hand, she was respected as a powerful businesswoman, a strategic mastermind who played a key role in WWE's transformation into a multi-billion-dollar empire. On the other hand, she was scrutinized for the ethical dilemmas surrounding WWE, its treatment of wrestlers, its handling of scandals, and its often controversial content. One of the most persistent criticisms against Linda was WWE's handling of its talent. The company was notorious for classifying wrestlers as independent contractors rather than employees, a move that allowed WWE to avoid providing full-time benefits like health insurance and retirement plans. This classification left many wrestlers struggling with medical bills after years of brutal in-ring performances. While Vince was the face of WWE, Linda, as the company's longtime CEO, was instrumental in these business decisions. Her critics saw her as the architect of a system that prioritized profit over the well-being of its performers. The issue of wrestler deaths also haunted WWE's reputation. The tragic passing of numerous superstars, many due to drug overdoses, brain injuries, or mental health struggles, raised serious questions about WWE's responsibility toward its talent. The deaths of Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, and countless others led to increased scrutiny of WWE's working conditions. As Linda transitioned into politics, these issues resurfaced, forcing her to defend WWE's labor practices on the campaign trail. Beyond the wrestling industry, Linda's political career was marked by controversy as well. Her 2 failed Senate campaigns were among the most expensive in U.S. history, with Linda pouring tens of millions of dollars into her bids. Critics accused her of trying to buy her way into office, while others saw her as an opportunist using her business credentials to gain political power. Her appointment as the head of the Small Business Administration under the Trump administration only fueled the debate. Some praised her business acumen and leadership, while others saw it as a political favor granted to a loyal donor, given that she and Vince had contributed millions to Trump's campaign and inauguration. Her tenure at the SBA was relatively low profile, but it reinforced the perception that she was a political insider rather than a true advocate for small businesses. Despite the controversies, Linda maintained a controlled and composed public image. Unlike Vince, who thrived on being a brash and unpredictable figure, Linda's persona was always polished, strategic, and calculated. She rarely engaged in public feuds or responded to criticisms with emotion. This approach allowed her to navigate scandal after scandal without ever facing the kind of public downfall that many expected. But no matter how carefully she managed her reputation, she could never fully escape her past. The name McMahon was forever tied to WWE, and with it, the legacy of controversy that came with running the most infamous wrestling empire in history. The question remained, would history remember her as a visionary leader, or as a calculated businesswoman who built an empire at a great human cost? The public sees Linda McMahon as a powerful executive, a political figure, and a woman who helped shape an industry. But behind the carefully curated image lies a more personal, unseen side, one that reveals the toll of a life spent in the pursuit of power and success. For decades, Linda was known as the rational, composed counterpart to Vince McMahon's larger-than-life persona. While Vince was aggressive, unpredictable, and often reckless in his business decisions, Linda was a stabilizing force that kept WWE afloat. However, this balance came with a cost. The pressures of running a billion-dollar company while raising a family were immense. Despite her position at WWE, Linda often found herself playing the role of both business leader and mother. She had to navigate the complexities of being married to a man whose life revolved around the wrestling business, a world filled with chaos, high-risk decisions, and endless controversies. Her relationship with Vince, though a long-standing partnership, was not without its strains. WWE's culture of pushing boundaries extended beyond television storylines. Vince's rumored infidelities, controversial business dealings, and high-profile feuds put an emotional strain on their marriage. While Linda rarely spoke publicly about these challenges, those close to the McMahons knew that their relationship was far from perfect. Her children, Shane and Stephanie McMahon, were also deeply entrenched in the WWE empire. Growing up in the wrestling business meant constant exposure to the pressures of fame, scrutiny, and corporate responsibility. While Linda worked to ensure WWE's business success, she also had to watch as her children followed in the family footsteps, entering an industry that had often consumed and broken the very people it celebrated. Behind closed doors, Linda was known for her sharp intellect and meticulous approach to decision-making. Unlike Vince, who often acted on instinct and gut feelings, Linda was methodical. She spent hours analyzing contracts, restructuring business deals, and ensuring that WWE remained financially viable, even in the face of lawsuits, scandals, and industry downturns. Her ability to compartmentalize was one of her greatest strengths. But it also meant that she carried the emotional weight of the company in ways the public never saw. As she transitioned into politics, the same discipline that made her successful in business carried over into her public life. Those who worked with her described her as controlled, pragmatic, and fiercely determined. But away from the cameras, there were moments of exhaustion, moments where the weight of decades of corporate battles, political defeats, and public scrutiny became overwhelming. Linda McMahon's story is not just about success, it's about sacrifice. The sacrifices made to build WWE, the sacrifices made to maintain a carefully crafted image, and the sacrifices made to pursue a life beyond wrestling. Even as the past constantly pulled her back, the public will always see the polished version of Linda McMahon, the CEO, the politician, the powerful woman who helped build an empire. But behind the scenes, away from the spotlight, lies the story of a woman who fought harder than most will ever realize. In a world that rarely allows its leaders to show weakness, the question remains, did she ever find peace outside of the empire she built? Linda McMahon's influence extends far beyond the boardrooms of WWE or the political corridors of Washington. Her legacy is one of ambition, resilience, and strategic mastery. But it is also a legacy riddled with ethical dilemmas, corporate controversy, and the lingering effects of the business decisions she helped shape. In the world of professional wrestling, Linda's impact is undeniable. She played a pivotal role in transforming WWE from a regional wrestling promotion into a global media powerhouse. Under her leadership, WWE expanded into international markets, launched the WWE Network, and secured billion-dollar deals with television networks. Though Vince was the public face, it was Linda's business acumen that kept the company financially stable through some of its most turbulent years. Her influence can also be seen in the evolution of WWE's corporate structure. She helped guide the company toward becoming a publicly traded entity in 1999. A move that brought unprecedented financial growth, but also subjected WWE to increased scrutiny. This shift forced WWE to balance its identity as an entertainment company with the demands of shareholders, sponsors, and mainstream media, a delicate balance that Linda was instrumental in maintaining. However, her legacy is not without its shadows. The business model she helped develop relied on classifying wrestlers as independent contractors, a decision that allowed WWE to avoid providing full-time benefits like healthcare and retirement plans. Many former wrestlers have spoken out against this practice, blaming it for the physical and financial hardships they faced after leaving the industry. While WWE thrived, many of its performers suffered, raising questions about the ethical responsibilities of the company's leadership. Beyond wrestling, Linda's political career added another dimension to her legacy. Though she never won a Senate seat, her appointment as the head of the Small Business Administration placed her in a position of national influence. She championed small businesses, advocated for economic growth, and leveraged her corporate experience to shape policies. However, critics viewed her appointment as a political favor, questioning whether her tenure at WWE truly prepared her for a role in government. Her political connections, particularly her close ties to the Trump administration, further complicated her legacy. As a major donor and key ally, she secured a place in the highest levels of government. But this also tied her reputation to one of the most controversial administrations in modern history. For supporters, she was a testament to business leadership in government. For detractors, she was a symbol of political maneuvering and corporate self-interest. Today, Linda McMahon remains a polarizing figure. To some, she is an inspiring example of a woman who thrived in a male-dominated industry, navigating both business and politics with strategic brilliance. To others, she is a corporate power player who prioritized profit over people, leaving behind a legacy of financial success but moral ambiguity. The empire she helped build still stands. Stronger than ever, WWE continues to dominate the wrestling world, expanding into new media ventures and securing lucrative deals. Her political influence remains, with deep connections in both corporate and governmental spheres. But as history reflects on her journey, one question remains. Will Linda McMahon be remembered as a trailblazer who redefined business and entertainment, or as a strategist who mastered the art of power while leaving behind a trail of ethical questions? Her story is still being written, and the final verdict on her legacy is yet to be determined. Linda McMahon's journey is one of ambition, calculated risk, and relentless pursuit of success. From a small-town girl in North Carolina to the CEO of a billion-dollar wrestling empire, and later a political figure, she has lived a life defined by power and perseverance. But with great success comes great scrutiny, and her story is far from a simple tale of triumph. She helped build WWE into a global powerhouse, ensuring its financial stability and corporate expansion while navigating some of its darkest controversies. She stood by Vince McMahon through scandals, lawsuits, and public backlash, often acting as the steady force behind WWE's aggressive rise. She was instrumental in shaping the business model that turned wrestling into an entertainment juggernaut. Yet that same model left many performers without proper protection or benefits. Her transition into politics was another chapter in her pursuit of influence. Despite her Senate campaign defeats, she found her way into the Trump administration, leveraging her corporate experience into a government role. But even in politics, her past followed her, with critics questioning her ethics, motivations, and role in the larger machinery of power. Linda McMahon's legacy is neither purely heroic nor entirely villainous. It is complex, layered, and shaped by both brilliance and controversy. She is proof that power is never handed to anyone. It is fought for, strategized, and won through persistence. But at what cost? In the end, Linda McMahon's story is not just about wrestling, business, or politics. It's about the sacrifices made in the pursuit of empire building, the sacrifices of personal time, relationships, and perhaps even ethical boundaries. Will history remember her as a trailblazing businesswoman who revolutionized an industry? Or will she be seen as a figure who mastered the game of power at the expense of those who helped build her success? That decision is left to time. But one thing is certain, Linda McMahon's name will forever be etched in the history of both wrestling and politics. A symbol of ambition, controversy, and the relentless pursuit of influence. The story of Linda McMahon is not just about what she built. It's about what she left behind in the process.